The rain hammered against the bedroom window like 1,000 tiny fists, but Amy barely heard it. She stood frozen in the doorway, watching Carl fold his shirts into a suitcase with mechanical precision. Each movement felt like a knife twisting deeper into her chest. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We can try again. We can see another specialist. We can adopt. Carl, please don't do this." He didn't look up. His jaw was set, his eyes cold and distant, like he was looking at a stranger instead of the woman he'd promised to love for better or worse. 7 years of marriage, and it had come down to this moment. A moment where she wasn't enough because her body couldn't give him what he wanted. "I've made up my mind, Amy." His voice was flat, emotionless. "My mother was right. I need a wife who can give me children. A real family. You can't do that." Those words hit her like a physical blow. A real family. As if she wasn't real. As if her love, her devotion, her soul poured into their marriage meant nothing because her womb remained empty. "I love you," she choked out, tears streaming down her face. "Doesn't that matter?" Carl finally looked at her then, and what she saw in his eyes destroyed her. Pity, disgust, impatience. "Love isn't enough, Amy. I want children. My own children. You've had 3 years to give me that, and you failed." Failed. The word echoed in her mind like a death sentence. He zipped up the suitcase and walked past her without another glance. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, heard the front door open and close, heard his car start and drive away, taking with it every dream she'd ever had. Amy collapsed to the floor, her body shaking with sobs that came from somewhere so deep inside her she didn't know that kind of pain existed. The rain continued to fall, matching every tear that poured from her eyes. She was alone, broken, abandoned for something beyond her control. And in that moment, Amy truly believed she would never be whole again. 3 months earlier, Amy had been a different woman. She remembered standing in the bathroom, staring at another negative pregnancy test, her hands trembling. It was the 14th one that year. 14 tiny windows that had crushed her hope a little more each time. She had met Carl in college, where his charm and confidence had swept her off her feet. He was studying business, destined for success, and he'd chosen her. Plain, quiet Amy who worked at the campus library and dreamed of being a teacher. She'd felt like the luckiest woman alive. Their wedding had been perfect. Small, intimate, filled with promises of forever. For the first 4 years, they'd been happy. They'd built a life together. Carl climbed the corporate ladder while Amy taught 3rd grade, pouring her love into other people's children while waiting for her own. But month after month, year after year, her body betrayed her. The doctors ran tests. They found nothing conclusively wrong, just unexplained infertility. They used words like stress, and sometimes it just takes time, and keep trying. Carl had been supportive at first. He'd held her hand during appointments, kissed her tears away when her period arrived each month. But slowly something shifted. His mother's pointed comments at family dinners grew sharper. His patience wore thin. His touch became mechanical, scheduled, purposeful rather than loving. Amy had felt herself becoming invisible in her own marriage. She'd tried everything. Fertility treatments that left her body aching and her spirit crushed. Diets, exercises, meditation, prayer. She'd begged God, the universe, anyone who might listen to give her a child so she could keep her husband's love. Now, sitting in the empty house, surrounded by the ghosts of her failed marriage, Amy understood the cruel truth. Carl had never loved her for who she was. He'd loved what he thought she could give him. And when she couldn't deliver, she became disposable. The divorce papers arrived 2 weeks after he left. He wanted it done quickly, cleanly. He was already seeing someone else, she heard through mutual friends. A 26-year-old from his office. Young, fertile, everything Amy apparently wasn't. Amy signed the papers with shaking hands, watching her dreams turn to ashes. The school principal had been kind when Amy requested a leave of absence. One look at her hollow eyes and trembling hands, and Mrs. Patterson had squeezed her shoulder gently. Take the time you need, dear. Heal. But how did you heal from being told you weren't worthy of love? How did you recover from being reduced to your biological function and found lacking? Amy spent the first 2 weeks after the divorce barely leaving her bed. Her sister Maya called every day, eventually showing up with groceries and forcing Amy to eat. Maya was furious, calling Carl every horrible name she could think of, but her anger couldn't fill the emptiness inside Amy. You deserve so much better, Maya insisted, sitting on the edge of Amy's bed. He's a monster for doing this to you. Maybe he's right, Amy whispered, staring at the ceiling. Maybe I am broken. Stop it. Maya's voice cracked with emotion. You are not broken. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to have children. You're an amazing teacher. You're kind, compassionate, creative. You're my sister, and you're perfect exactly as you are. But Maya's words, though well-meaning, couldn't penetrate the grief that had wrapped around Amy's heart like chains. Society had always whispered that a woman's greatest purpose was motherhood. Carl had simply said it out loud. The third week, Maya practically dragged Amy out of bed. You need to start living again. Just small steps. Small steps. Amy tried. She showered. She ate real meals instead of crackers in bed. She took walks around the neighborhood, though every couple pushing a stroller felt like a knife to her heart. 1 month after the divorce was finalized, Amy made a decision. She couldn't go back to teaching, not yet. Every child's face would remind her of what she'd lost. Instead, she applied for a position at Maya's workplace, a large tech corporation downtown where Maya worked in human resources. We need an executive assistant for one of our CEOs, Maya said carefully. It's demanding work, but the pay is excellent. And David is a good man. Fair. Kind. Amy barely registered the details. She just needed something, anything, to fill the endless empty hours. She got the job, and she had no idea that this decision would change everything. Amy's first day at Bennett Technologies felt surreal. The building was all glass and steel, modern and imposing, filled with ambitious people in expensive suits rushing from meeting to meeting. She felt small and insignificant, which somehow felt appropriate. Maya walked her to the executive floor, chatting nervously about office politics and lunch options, but Amy only half listened. She was running on autopilot, going through the motions of living without actually feeling alive. David's great, Maya assured her again. He's a single dad, super dedicated. He's been through his own struggles, so he's understanding. Just be professional, stay organized, and you'll do fine. The door to the corner office was open. Maya knocked gently, and a voice called them in. David Bennett stood looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city below. When he turned, Amy's first thought was that he looked tired. Not physically, but in his eyes. There was a weariness there she recognized because she saw it in her own mirror every morning. He was tall, maybe late 30s, with kind eyes and an easy smile that didn't quite reach those weary depths. professional, put together, but carrying something heavy beneath the surface. "You must be Amy," he said, extending his hand. His handshake was firm but gentle. "Maya speaks very highly of you. Welcome to the team." "Thank you for the opportunity," Amy replied automatically, her voice flat and professional. If David noticed her lack of enthusiasm, he didn't mention it. He spent an hour explaining her responsibilities, his schedule, his preferences. Amy took notes mechanically, nodding at appropriate moments, functioning but not feeling. The weeks blurred together. Amy arrived early, left late, and threw herself into work with single-minded focus. It was easier than going home to her quiet apartment, easier than thinking, easier than feeling. She organized David's calendar with ruthless efficiency, handled his calls, managed his meetings, and maintained perfect professional distance. David was exactly as Maya had described. Kind, fair, never demanding beyond reason. He said please and thank you, asked about her weekend, and respected her boundaries. Amy learned that he had 2 children, Lucy and Max, ages 7 and 5. Sometimes he took calls from their school or their nanny, and his entire demeanor would soften. She heard him promise bedtime stories, help with homework, never miss a recital. He was everything Carl hadn't been. Devoted, present, loving. It should have warmed her heart. Instead, it just reminded her of everything she'd never have. 2 months into her job, everything changed on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Amy was organizing files when David's office door burst open. He rushed in, phone pressed to his ear, his face pale with worry. "I understand. Yes. I'm leaving now. 20 minutes. He hung up and grabbed his jacket, his hands shaking slightly. "Amy, I have to go. Lucy's school called. She's sick, fever. The nanny can't get there for an hour, and I can't leave her waiting," feeling terrible and scared. "Of course," Amy said immediately. "Go. I'll reschedule your meetings. The Nakamura presentation. I'll handle it. Go take care of your daughter." David looked at her with such gratitude, it almost cracked her carefully constructed walls. Then he was gone, and Amy spent the next 3 hours expertly managing the crisis of his sudden absence. He called her that evening, something he'd never done before. "Amy, I can't thank you enough. You saved me today." His voice was warm, genuine. "Lucy's okay, just a virus, but she needed her dad. Because of you, I could be there for her." "It's my job," Amy replied, but something in her chest tightened. "It's more than that. You went above and beyond." He paused. "The Nakamura deal, you impressed them. They specifically mentioned how professional and capable you were." After they hung up, Amy sat in her quiet apartment and cried for the first time in weeks. Not from pain, but from something else. Something that felt almost like purpose. The next morning, there was a beautiful bouquet on her desk with a simple note. "Thank you for caring. David." For caring. 2 words that slipped past her defenses and touched something she'd thought was dead inside her. Over the following weeks, something subtle shifted between them. David started asking her opinion on things beyond scheduling. They had brief conversations about books, about the news, about life. Nothing inappropriate, nothing crossing professional lines, but a genuine connection was forming. Amy learned that David's wife had died 4 years ago from cancer, that he'd become both mother and father to his children overnight, that he'd built his company while raising 2 grieving kids, somehow managing to be present for all of it. "They're my world," he said simply one day. "Everything else is just details." Amy found herself thinking about him at odd moments. Not romantically, not yet, but with a growing respect and something that felt like friendship. Her walls were cracking, and she wasn't sure if she should be terrified or grateful. The day Amy met Lucy and Max was entirely unplanned. She was working late, finishing quarterly reports, when David emerged from his office looking frustrated. "The nanny's car broke down," he said, running a hand through his hair. "I have to pick up the kids from after-school care, but I absolutely have to finish the Morrison contract tonight. It's due tomorrow morning." Amy looked up from her computer. "Bring them here." David blinked. "What?" "Bring them to the office. I can keep an eye on them while you work. There's the conference room. They can do homework or draw or whatever they need." "Amy, I couldn't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Something passed between them in that moment. Understanding. Trust. David nodded slowly. "Thank you." An hour later, two children tumbled into the office like small tornadoes of energy. Lucy was 7, with wild curly hair and her father's kind eyes. Max was 5, missing his front tooth, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. "Kids, this is Miss Amy. She works with Daddy. Can you say hello?" "Hello, Miss Amy," they chorused. Amy's heart, that broken thing she'd buried deep, trembled. She'd spent years teaching children, loving them, then walked away because it hurt too much. Now here were two pairs of bright eyes looking at her with curiosity and trust. "Hi," she managed, her voice soft. "Do you like to draw?" Lucy's face lit up. "I love drawing." "Me too," Max chimed in. "I draw dinosaurs. Want to see?" They settled in the conference room with paper and markers Amy found in the supply closet. David returned to his office, door open, glancing out periodically with an expression Amy couldn't quite read. Lucy drew elaborate princesses and castles. Max drew dinosaurs in every color imaginable. And Amy, who hadn't smiled genuinely in months, found herself laughing at Max's story about a purple T-Rex who only ate birthday cake. "Miss Amy." Lucy looked up, suddenly serious. "Do you have kids?" The question pierced straight through her. Amy's smile faltered. "No, sweetie. I don't." "How come?" "Lucy," David's voice came from the doorway, gentle but warning. "It's okay," Amy said quietly. She looked at Lucy's innocent face. "Sometimes things don't work out the way we hope. But that's life." Lucy considered this with the grave wisdom of a 7-year-old. "That's sad. You'd be a really good mom. You're nice." Amy's eyes burned with sudden tears. She blinked them back quickly, but not before David saw. His expression filled with understanding and something that looked like compassion. Later, after the kids had been picked up by the repaired car-driving nanny, David lingered at Amy's desk. "I'm sorry if Lucy's question upset you." "She didn't know," Amy said softly. "Maya mentioned you'd been through a difficult divorce." David's voice was careful, respectful. "I don't mean to pry, but I recognize pain when I see it. I lived it for years after my wife died." Amy looked up at him, and for the first time since Carl left, she felt truly seen. Not pitted, not judged, just acknowledged. "How did you survive it?" she whispered. "One day at a time. And by letting people care about me, even when I didn't think I deserved it." He paused. "You were wonderful with Lucy and Max tonight." "Thank you." After he left, Amy sat in the quiet office and realized something terrifying. She was starting to feel again. Spring arrived, painting the city in shades of hope and renewal. Amy had been working for David for 4 months, and the numb fog that had consumed her was slowly lifting. She looked forward to work now, not just as an escape, but because she genuinely enjoyed it. David had become more than just her boss. He was her friend. They shared coffee in the mornings, discussed books over lunch breaks, and had developed an easy rapport that felt natural and safe. Amy had seen Lucy and Max several more times when childcare plans fell through. Each visit chipped away at the wall around her heart. Lucy would save her drawings for Amy. Max insisted on showing her his dinosaur collection via video calls. They'd somehow adopted her into their little world, and she was helpless against their innocent affection. One Friday afternoon, David appeared at her desk looking uncharacteristically nervous. "So, tomorrow is Lucy's 8th birthday party," he began. "Nothing big, just a few friends at our house, cake, games. She's been asking all week if you could come." Amy's heart stuttered. "Oh, I don't want to intrude on family time." "You wouldn't be intruding. You'd be invited. By both Lucy and me." David's eyes were sincere, hopeful. "I know it's beyond the scope of work, and you can absolutely say no, but it would mean a lot to her. To both of them, actually. Max keeps talking about showing you his room." Amy knew she should decline, knew she should maintain professional boundaries, knew she was getting dangerously attached to this family that wasn't hers and never would be. But when she opened her mouth, she heard herself say, "I'd love to come." David's smile could have powered the entire building. The next day, Amy stood outside David's house in the suburbs, clutching Lucy's carefully wrapped present, her heart hammering. The house was beautiful, warm and welcoming, with a large yard where balloons danced in the breeze. David opened the door, casual in jeans and a simple shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "You came," he said, his smile genuine and warm. "I promised." The party was chaotic and joyful. 8-year-olds ran everywhere, shrieking with laughter. Lucy's face had lit up like sunshine when she saw Amy, throwing her arms around her waist in a tight hug that made Amy's eyes sting with tears. Amy helped with games, served cake, and laughed more in those few hours than she had in months. She watched David with his children, saw the love in every interaction, the patience, the devotion. He was covered in frosting, his hair messy from roughhousing, absolutely exhausted, and completely happy. As the last guest left and the kids played in the yard, David and Amy cleaned up the kitchen together. "Thank you for coming," he said softly. "It really did mean a lot to Lucy. To all of us." "Thank you for inviting me," Amy replied. "I haven't felt this happy in a long time." David turned to her, his expression serious. "Amy, can I tell you something?" Her heart raced. "Of course. When you started working for me, Maya told me you'd been through something painful. She didn't give details, just asked me to be patient while you healed." He set down the dish he'd been washing. "I want you to know that watching you come back to life these past months has been incredible. Your smile, your laugh, the way you are with my kids. You're an amazing person. I hope you're starting to see that again." Amy's eyes filled with tears. "Carl, my ex-husband, he left me because I can't have children. He said I wasn't enough, that I'd failed him. I believed him. I thought I was broken and worthless." David's face filled with anger and compassion. He was a fool, and he was wrong. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to have children. You're brilliant, kind, wonderful. You deserve someone who sees all of you and loves every part. Do you really believe that?" Amy whispered. "I know it," David said firmly. Through the window, they watched Lucy and Max playing, their laughter floating on the spring air. and Amy felt something shift inside her chest. Hope. Fragile and terrifying, but undeniably real. After Lucy's birthday party, everything felt different. Amy couldn't pretend anymore that her feelings for David were purely professional or friendly. She was falling for him, slowly and terrifyingly, in a way that felt both healing and dangerous. She tried to fight it. David was her boss. He was being kind, nothing more. She was just confusing friendship and professional respect with something deeper, because she was vulnerable and damaged. But then there were moments that made her defenses crumble. Like when David brought her favorite coffee without being asked, remembering details she'd mentioned weeks ago. Or when he genuinely sought her opinion on important business decisions, valuing her insight. Or when Lucy drew a picture of their office family that included Amy right in the center, and David hung it on his wall with obvious pride. One evening, working late on a major project, they ordered dinner to the office. Sitting across from each other with takeout containers, talking about everything and nothing, Amy realized this felt like the partnership she'd always wanted. Carl had never asked about her day, never cared about her thoughts on anything important. David listened like her words mattered. "Why haven't you dated anyone?" Amy asked suddenly, surprising herself with her boldness. "Since your wife passed, I mean. For years is a long time." David was quiet for a moment. "I've been asked out, but between the kids and the company, there wasn't room. And honestly, nobody felt right. Sarah was my best friend before she was my wife. That's what I want again. Someone who's my partner in everything, who loves my kids, who I can talk to at the end of the day. I won't settle for less. And I won't bring someone into Lucy and Max's lives unless I'm sure." "That's beautiful," Amy said softly. "They're lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one." David looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Amy, I need to tell you something." Before he could continue, his phone rang. The nanny, frantic. Max had fallen and hit his head. They rushed to the emergency room together because David was shaking too hard to drive. Max was fine, just a minor concussion and a dramatic story to tell. But Amy saw David break down in the hospital hallway once the danger passed. She held him while he cried, all his fear and stress pouring out. "I can't lose them," he whispered against her shoulder. "They're all I have left of Sarah. They're everything." "You won't," Amy promised. "They're okay. You're an amazing father. They're safe and loved." When he pulled back, his eyes met hers with raw vulnerability. "Having you here tonight, I don't know what I would have done without you." "You're not alone," Amy said. "Not anymore." The air between them crackled with unspoken feelings. David's hand came up to cup her face gently, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized she'd shed. "Amy," he breathed, and she saw everything she felt reflected in his eyes. But a nurse interrupted, and the moment shattered. They drove home in charged silence, and Amy's heart raced with possibility and terror. She was falling in love with David Bennett, and she was almost certain he was falling too. 2 weeks after Max's accident, everything came to a head. Amy had been trying to maintain professional distance, terrified of misreading signals or ruining the best thing in her life right now. But David seemed to be pulling away too, and the tension was becoming unbearable. On a Thursday afternoon, Maya cornered Amy in the break room. "Okay, what's going on with you and David?" her sister demanded. "Nothing. He's my boss." "Amy, I see how you look at each other. I see how happy you've been. And I see how miserable you've been this week. Talk to me." Amy crumbled. "I think I'm in love with him." But I'm so scared, Maya. What if I'm broken? What if I can't give him more children? What if he realizes I'm not enough, just like Carl did? Maya grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. David is nothing like Carl. He already has children. He's not looking for a baby machine. He's looking for a partner, and anyone with eyes can see he's found one in you. But what if? Stop. You deserve love, Amy. You deserve happiness. Stop punishing yourself for Carl's cruelty. That evening, Amy stayed late finishing reports. She thought she was alone until David appeared at her desk. We need to talk, he said quietly. Amy's heart dropped. Okay. They went into his office. David closed the door and stood by the window, his back to her, tension radiating from his shoulders. I can't do this anymore, he said, and Amy felt her world start to collapse again. I can't pretend. I can't maintain professional distance. I can't stop thinking about you every moment of every day. He turned, and the look in his eyes stole her breath. I'm in love with you, Amy. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing before I sleep. Lucy and Max adore you. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You've become essential to my life. But I'm your boss, and that's complicated, and I know you've been hurt. So I need to know if I'm alone in this, or if you feel even a fraction of what I do. Amy stood, her legs shaking. You're not alone. Amy, I love you, she said, her voice breaking. I love you so much it terrifies me. But David, I can't have children. The doctors said it's unlikely I ever will. Carl left me because of that, and I understand if that changes things. If you want more kids someday, I can't give you that. David crossed to her in 3 strides, cupping her face in both hands. I don't want more children. I want you. I want Lucy and Max to have you in their lives. I want to wake up next to you. I want to build a life with you. You are enough, Amy. You are more than enough. You are everything. David, she sobbed. Let me love you, he whispered. Let me prove that you deserve all the love in the world. Let me show you what it means to be truly cherished. And then he kissed her, gentle and passionate and full of promise, and Amy finally understood what it meant to be loved for who she was, not what she could provide. 6 months later, Amy stood in David's kitchen on a Saturday morning, making pancakes while Lucy set the table and Max recounted an elaborate story about dinosaurs at school. David's arms wrapped around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. Happy, he murmured. Impossibly, she whispered back. They'd navigated the complications carefully. Amy had transferred to a different department to avoid conflicts of interest, though she missed working directly with David. But being his partner in life was infinitely better than being his assistant. Lucy and Max had adjusted beautifully. They'd been nervous about telling the kids about their relationship, but Lucy had simply said, "Does this mean Amy can be here all the time? Good. We love her." Max had been equally direct. "Will you be our mom now?" Amy had knelt down to his level, tears streaming down her face. "I would be honored to be part of your family. I love you both so much." Carl had tried to reach out once, hearing through mutual acquaintances that Amy was dating someone successful. She'd blocked his number without responding. He belonged to a painful past she'd finally left behind. Now, watching David help Max cut his pancakes while Lucy told Amy about her upcoming school play, Amy marveled at the life she'd found. Not the life she'd planned, but something infinitely better. Later, after breakfast, David pulled her aside. His eyes were nervous but excited. "The kids and I have something to ask you." Lucy and Max appeared, grinning. Lucy held a small box. "We had a family meeting," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "And we all agreed. We want you to be ours officially. We want to be a family." He took the box from Lucy and opened it, revealing a simple, beautiful ring. "Amy, will you marry us? All of us. Will you let us love you for the rest of our lives?" Lucy and Max jumped up and down. "Please say yes. Please." Amy looked at these three people who had healed her broken heart, who had shown her that family wasn't about biology, but about love and choice and commitment. "Yes," she sobbed. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They crashed together in a group hug, all laughing and crying, and Amy felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. That night, after the kids were asleep, David held her close. "I need you to know something," he said softly. "What Carl did to you, how he made you feel, it was wrong. Your worth was never tied to having biological children. You've been a mother to Lucy and Max in every way that matters. You're an incredible teacher, partner, and person. I hope you believe that now." "I'm starting to," Amy admitted. "Because of you. Because of them. Because you all see me as whole, not broken." "You were never broken," David insisted. "You were wounded. There's a difference. Wounds heal, especially when they're tended with love." Amy thought about the woman she'd been, crumpled on the floor while Carl walked away. That woman had believed her story was over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. "You know what Lucy told me yesterday?" Amy said. "She said that sometimes God says no to what we want because he has something better planned." I didn't believe in better, but she was right. She's a wise kid. She has a pretty incredible dad. 3 months later, they married in a small ceremony with family and close friends. Lucy and Max stood beside them, beaming with pride. When the officiant said, "You may now kiss your bride," Max shouted, "And we're a family now." Everyone laughed through happy tears. Amy had learned the hardest lesson life could teach, that sometimes what breaks us leads us to what completes us. That worthiness isn't measured by what we can produce, but by who we are. That family is built on love, not biology. Carl had told her she didn't belong anywhere. But David, Lucy, and Max had proven him wrong every single day. She belonged exactly where she was. She belonged with them. And finally, beautifully, she belonged to herself.